Play Alberta is offering odds boosts on every Oilers game all season long. And for a limited time only, our listeners can score a $50 free bet when they deposit $50 using code GYB50. That's how Alberta wins.
You know, when a team is struggling, sometimes it's a sign that they're coming out of it when the luck seems to be shifting in their direction. And it's back-to-back games. The Edmonton Oilers rely a little bit on lady luck deep in a hockey game to earn themselves a couple of points. Hey, man, they'll take them any way they can get them. 2-1 overtime win. Jack Roslovic, yes, back-to-back Jacks with another overtime winner. Welcome to Got Your Back, folks. It's going to be a great show tonight. And as always, it is brought to you by our title sponsor, Timberhouse Developments. Have you ever considered adding a garden suite or laneway home for aging parents or loved ones? A team at Timberhouse can design and build the perfect space for your property with a focus on naturally inspired living. They create warm, thoughtful spaces that enhance the lives of your loved ones and provide an oasis to help them age in place. Visit timberhouse.ca. Such unique designs, thoughtful stuff, and of course, that biophilic design, those design principles that exist here in the Got Your Back studio as well. Our Timberhouse studio discovered how naturally inspired living can make your life better. So Oilers striking out on just an absolute monster of a road trip as we say hello to Chris Sabunia and to Jason Strudwick. Struds, I would have to think when you're staring down the barrel of a road trip this long, getting that first win, it's got to be a good feeling. Just relieve some of that pressure.
Well, it's huge. I mean, this is a 7-game road trip, 12, 13 days, depends if you want to count the flight home. And it's a lot. So you want to get off to a good start. Feel good about yourself. You get the 2 points. There's 14 available. You've got 2 banked. They're already in the bank. You played pretty well. Now you move on to game 2 tomorrow against Columbus. You're looking to get points out of there. If you can get points out of the first 2 games, it changes the whole feeling, the vibe, every time you get on the plane heading to a next game.
Zuby, you always monitor our chats, and you do a wonderful job of that, my friend. Do you expect that even on a night like tonight, somebody will find a reason to complain about Stuart Skinner? Or could it be a night where it's a Skinner-free complaint zone tonight? Could it be, Zuby?
I think it's possible. I think there's going to be so much ingest as there already is that I might not even be able to differentiate what's a joke and what's not. So Paulie already coming in saying 9:53 Stu. Dirt Engineer Stu looked good tonight. Somebody did say, I did see someone say someone will still try to blame Stu tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be all right.
We got Maverick saying Skinner for the Vezina. See, people are just being smartasses now. Lots to break down from this game. Pretty dominant performance for a lot of the night, at least in that second period from the Edmonton Oilers. So let's get to it. It's the breakdown brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Hockey lives at the Canadian Brewhouse during every Oiler game day at any Edmonton and area location. Enter to win Oiler home game tickets at Rogers Place. Plus, enjoy $1 off Molson Canadian and Coors Light tankards as well. 30 beers on tap, 50-plus TVs at all locations. It is the place to go in town to check out an Oiler game. It is the Canadian Brewhouse. That was overstatement. It was not a dominant performance, Struds. They had a pretty dominant stretch of not giving up much, but kind of a sloppy first 10, and then all of a sudden the Oilers take over, and on the first game of the road trip, they had the legs, they found the legs, Struds, and were able to kind of really put their stamp on the middle portion of that game.
They really did. And listen, let's talk about Philly for a little bit. They're known as a very good defensive team, and Talk has caught them playing quite quite conservatively, to say the least. Their forecheck isn't very aggressive, and I don't actually think that helps them. They don't have a ton of skill as it is. Like they can just flip it over. So I think for the Oilers, this is something they haven't seen a lot this year. For those who didn't watch the game, think back to the Kings in the playoffs. That's kind of how they back off. So it's hard to forecheck with one person. The Oilers D are pretty skilled. They go D to D and get it up the ice. All that being said, the Oilers didn't give up much. I want to say it was close to 20 minutes between the first and second that Philly didn't get a shot. And I think that's tough for a goalie. I'm not making excuses for Stu, and not that he needs any tonight, but it is difficult in there. So I sure like the way that they I'd say the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, they weren't flying. Then they got going and got their legs going, and they came at the Flyers with quite a bit of jump. Probably deserved better than just one goal through the first two periods, but I like they didn't get rattled. And that they stuck with it as they went through that entire 60.
We'll dig into the guts of the game in a little bit here, Struds, but let's fast forward to the end where it looked like the Oilers had spit the bit. And a goal against in the last minute looked like it was going to be a crushing night and end up being a frustrating trip into Columbus. What did you see on that goal against that they had given up? And once again, good old Noah Siegel, right? The video coach coming up big.
Well, yeah, I mean, the offside, I didn't see it in real time. Maybe others did, but I didn't see it in real time. But, the challenge was the puck goes up high, and there's so much traffic in front of Stu Skinner. It was incredible. Janmark, I've criticized Roslovic for not getting in front of a shot earlier in his time here. I think Janmark was truly trying to get in front of that shot, but you got to find a way to block that shot. The D-men give him credit. Sanheim gets the puck, takes a quick step to his left, and fires it to the net. I still think you need to find a way to get in front of it or make him alter it. But there was a gong show in front. People everywhere, Oilers and Flyers, no chance for Stu Skinner on that. Again, can I tie up a stick? Even if there's bodies there, maybe I can tie up a stick because I believe it was tipped halfway to the net by Konechny. Those are the details that you need tonight. And it's easy to sit back here and say, because in the moment it's hard, but any one of those things, the Janmark block, tying up a stick, and we're not even talking about having to get a review with just seconds left on the clock.
Canadian reminding me the NHL initiated review in the last minute. Schauger, fair enough. So they catch a break, and that's deflating for Philadelphia. I have to admit, Struds, I was very surprised that Philadelphia didn't try and go get it a little bit more in the last 35 seconds of that game because of who was on the ice. Neither McDavid nor Draisaitl, I don't believe, were on the ice as that game was finishing out. They had just gotten one. I mean, I'm all for being safe, but I was surprised they sat back to the extent that they did with no threat on the ice against them.
Do you remember a few years ago when Chris Pronger was playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning? And I believe he was with Philly. And Tampa with, I can't remember the coach with the scar on his face. Guy Boucher just came to me.
Boucher, yeah.
And Chris Pronger told his partner, stand at the top of the circles, and they passed it back and forth because Tampa wasn't forechecking at all. And if you remember, I think it was Marty St. Louis went up to Pronger and said, hey, you got to attack. He's like, no. And that was exactly what they did tonight. I don't understand how, and so I was texting with you guys, like, this should be banned. Like that type of passivity it's not good for the game. It makes it so boring. We could have had an exciting last 20 seconds if Philly tries to attack. But you know what they're doing? They're playing the odds. They're going to take that 1 point. I get it. They're in the playoffs. They're a team that no one expected to make the playoffs. But it doesn't mean it's right, Schauger. And it's a boring style of hockey to play.
Yeah, no question. All right, so they head into overtime, and it's, of course, the usual three to start, 97-29. And Evan Bouchard as well. But it's the next set of guys to come over the boards that make a huge difference. We saw Jack Roslovic get it done last game, Struds. We're going to talk about Seavoy bigger picture, but just break down that goal and a real nice heady play from Seavoy.
Savoy's always been really good at making plays and seeing plays. Hockey IQ is really high. We saw that on the first goal. We'll get to that momentarily. But he jumps over and he creates a space to make that pass to Roslovic, right? He takes the puck just slightly wide. Instead of driving the net straight, he takes a little bit of step to his right just to give a little bit of space there to Roslovic. I actually saw it in real time. It was offside. I really did. No, it wasn't.
Oh, really?
And you could see that Roslovic was kind of looking around. Both teams are looking around, thinking, is this going to get reviewed? But he creates a little bit of space, drives it, opens up a lane for Roslovic, and makes the pass over. And, Roslovic's not missing that one. So that's on Savoy. That is all Savoy. Roslovic scored it, but it's because of Savoy that the goal went in.
Yeah, another nice finish from Roslovic. Savoy had a solid night here, Struds. Like, this is a performance for him where he touches a bunch of different pieces of the game. 2 primary assists. Let's go back to the 1-0 goal. Makes a really nice touch pass down to McDavid and then keeps it alive, knocking it out into the crease. The tenacious energy that for a big chunk of the first part of the season wasn't resulting in much offensively, just a lot of plays where we were going, oh yeah, he works hard. And, oh yeah, he takes care of details, right? That tenacity, well, that's an example of it finally manifesting itself into some offense and some important offense for Savoy. So some payoff there for things that he's just consistently been doing game after game.
So 2 things. Top players want you to keep the play moving when it hits your stick. They don't want to come and, you get it and then you shoot and then they got to go get the puck back. So I love that about him. He gets it, gives it to Connor, goes to the net, gets it back. And now not only did he keep that play going, now he keeps the play alive because he taps it to the other side of the net. Now, we can debate whether that was intentionally knew Connor was there or not. It doesn't really matter. It's the offensive instincts to keep that puck in front of the net when there's a scramble. And Flyers were in a scramble mode. Connor flies around the net, grabs it, taps it back to Bouchard. He walks in and hammers a bomb. So 2 things. Again, the puck is not, it's hard to use the same, but he keeps it moving. He keeps that alive as it goes through him to another player. And then he keeps the play alive by getting it back. Top players love that. And that's why Savoy right now is getting a chance with him. And I think this was his most productive. I don't think he's had a 2-point game in the NHL. You might want to come down on me on that one, but he was the reason they scored 2 goals tonight. It was fantastic, and that's what he can do. And if you're Stan Bowman, you're praying we see this more often as the season wears on.
The thing about Savoy and his contribution is that, we talked in preseason and training camp about him potentially killing penalties. And you had some very legitimate concerns about his ability to do that. Now, I know they had worked with him in the American League to try and sharpen that skill, thinking he's going to be ready to transition to the NHL next year, might not be a top 6 forward, needs to be able to do this. And they worked on it with him. And he's out there in key situations tonight, starting some penalty kills. And I have to say, Struds, it feels to me like it's working pretty good and good on him.
Well, interesting times. Nugent Hopkins is out. And so who are they starting? Who's in the penalty kill? Because I think you would have noticed too, Noah Philp also got some penalty kill time, something that I know you've been advocating for him, an opportunity to get more. Yeah. Fair point. But at least he's out there. So this is an interesting thing when you look at it. For a young player, you got to get him in the game and extra ice time. It's clear he's not getting power play time because of the way, or minimal because of the way it works. But playing beside Connor McDavid, he gets that opportunity, gets his confidence up. But it started with that penalty kill, finding him a piece of the action. And again, he's a very smart hockey player. He's really, really heady, understanding what the other team's trying to do. So I think with him getting that extra time with Connor and on the penalty kill, his confidence should grow. And after a night like tonight, I'm interested to see what his next 4 or 5 games look like. Like, could he put more points up on the board? Albeit there's some pretty stingy teams they're playing against. But one of the stingiest tonight in the Flyers, he found a way to put 2 on the board where, and not to compare, but Leon didn't get any.
All right, let's get to the Weiss Johnson Soundbox, brought to you by Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. Should you need a new train furnace, air conditioner, heat pump, hot water tank, or garage heater, Weiss Johnson's offering 24 months, no interest, equal payments, OAC to make your purchase easier heading into the Christmas season. Their family helping your family for nearly 50 years. Visit WJJingle.com for exclusive specials just for Got Your Back Jingle lovers. That's WJJingle.com. Jingle. Johnson, all right, Matt Savoy on the overtime winner.
Yeah, a little bit of a broken play in the neutral zone. Good turnover created by Rosie there, and then off to the races, and saw him with me and open up, so I wanted to feed him there. Good finish.
Seems to be a good building for you. First NHL point last year, and now making a big play on an OT winner.
Yeah,
Like Philadelphia?
like the city of Philly. Obviously, it was my first game with the team last year, so it was pretty special last year. And yeah, it was good tonight. Thought it was a good game all around.
Roslovic.
They kind of got it up, a little jumbled. If you can just get a touch on it, sometimes it can help. It can be all the difference. So a little touch, and Savvy got a little touch, and then we both stayed on side, and he made a heck of a play.
I know it maybe took a little long.
Yeah, he made a heck of a play to drag the foot there, Struds. Like that was and I know that he had just watched the other team get stung with the offside goal. But I tell you what, nice heady play by him right there.
It was. He did drag that foot, and that's why I think in real time it looked like it was offside to me. He was kind of getting, kind of tangled up with the Philly player, getting dragged in. But ultimately he doesn't. And, we've talked about Seavoy, and he had a great night. But Roslovic right now is providing something that they need, a finisher, a guy that can score. 2 games in a row, he gets the overtime winner. For $1.5 million, that's a pretty good outcome, right? He seems to have found some comfort levels. Yeah, there you go. So 5 goals, and he's playing beside Leon. Knobloch has had some really kind things to say about him. I think that he not to be negative now, but I think he has to continue to work on his game away from the puck, continue to work on those skills and just a desire to be that complete player or a more complete player. But playing with Connor and Leon, you're going to see that. And I'm guessing at some point it'll be one of those 2 guys and or the coach to challenge him to take on more responsibility away from the puck.
Chris Knobloch on number 28.
Jack has been a great addition to our team. 5-on-5, power play, obviously overtime. And we want more speed. I don't think you can have enough speed in your lineup, and he helps with that. And also just some secondary scoring, and he has provided that. So we're very, very fortunate to have him.
One word.
All right, want to talk about Stu Skinner here, Struds. A night where he had to go long stretches without seeing any action. The first shot he did face, if I recall, after that big long stretch, made a good save, was solid. And then, boy, did he come up with a big one in overtime where Bouchard, a little too much space left in the middle of the ice there in overtime, and Skinner had to be really sharp there. So this was a night where Stu Skinner flat out did his job. Wasn't necessarily the toughest, but he's got to stack a few. This is what starting goalies do consistently, night in, night out.
Yeah, he's not a story, right? And I think that's what they need more of these from him, where he's not the story. Even if that goal had gone in and they'd counted, if they'd counted the offside goal at the end of regulation, I don't believe that's on him. But he needs to stack plenty more of these in, where he's a non-factor. And like, okay, we just expect that from you, Stu. And he's had some good performances for sure, but this is what I'm looking for. Now, the team in front of him was better defensively, for sure. I think he plays better, but I do think not having a shot for 18 to 20 minutes or whatever it was, that's a pretty long time for a goalie not to touch the puck. I wonder if he grabbed one at the bench just to kind of get that feel.
Yeah, no, I thought he was good, man. He was just steady. He was solid, made the saves he needed to make, and probably not easy on a night where you're not seeing a lot of action. I don't know, Zuby, you've spent time in the crease. Like when you go long stretches like that, are you just sort of hoping the first one is an easy one coming at you?
Well, I don't know. That's never happened to me in beer league. I don't think I've ever gone more than about 90 seconds without seeing a shot. No, you do. It's hard, especially if when your confidence might not be at the highest level, because then you're thinking, and thinking is death. You just want to be playing and be active and be touching the puck. So it's definitely a tricky situation, especially for a goalie's confidence that might not be sky high. So he did really well.
For sure. There's a question here on the stream. I know it's back-to-back tomorrow, but do you put Stu in again tomorrow, asks the Dirt Engineer. I don't think so, Struds. I feel like the science is kind of set on that. I know it's early in the road trip, so, because it's early in the road trip, you might consider it. But I don't think you do. I just think you go ahead and you play Pickard tomorrow, and then a real good Carolina team on the weekend that you give to Stu. What do you think? Yeah,
I think that's really accurate. Honestly, I had even occurred to me to not play Pickard tomorrow. So I think the big pick will be in there tomorrow, and you build off of for Skinner the next game that he gets the chance to play. So yeah, I'd be really surprised, man, because they do have a pretty long, tedious road trip here.
Let's get through our storyline brought to you by Play Alberta. It was an interesting one today. Zuby had Connor McDavid with a couple of points, and I believe Jake Wallman with a point as well. So a bit of a combo there, and that was boosted nicely by Play Alberta. This one didn't hit tonight, but it leads us into the storyline of Connor McDavid and his night here. We were kind of thinking that maybe he would, continue on and pop a little bit. I don't know. Like it felt to me, Struds, like it was a decent night from 97, but certainly nothing like what we saw from him the other night. And I thought he and 29 both, didn't necessarily have their stuff tonight.
When you watch this game, there's a thing we teach kids. We call it 5 on the die, and that's what we want our defense posture to look like in our own zone. So you have the wingers, then the center in the middle, then 2D. And how often when you're watching this game, do you see that? So basically what they're saying is like, we're going to protect the middle of the ice. You can skate around the outside, get shots from the outside. We're going to make it really hard for you to penetrate. And they did. They did make it really hard for Connor, for Leon, for everybody, right? And so give Philly some props. That's why everything is so low, their goals against, because they're just jamming at the middle and saying, okay, you're not going to get here. So I think that's one of the reasons it was difficult for not just Connor Leon, but everyone to get to the middle of the ice and get some scoring chances.
For sure. Zuby, give everyone a sense of kind of timing-wise what to expect on game days here, where they can find the action that we have going with Play Alberta and how it's been going.
Yeah, typically between 10 and 11 a.m. Mountain Time, about we're usually getting our storyline bet out there. And again, we talk about the odds boost, and that's Play Alberta saying we give them an idea what we're going to come in with as our storyline as we're following some of the things that are going on with the team. And they say, okay, we're going to give Got Your Back viewers and listeners even better. We're going to boost those odds that if it hits for them, it's an even better payout. So it's pretty cool that it's super customizable for us. And we're looking at what's coming up in these games and getting it out there. So keep an eye on our Twitter, and Schauger and Struddy usually retweet it. It'll give you an idea of what our bet is, and then you can get over to playalberta.ca and get in on it if you want to, using your game sense, of course.
100%. And this is brought to you, our storylines, by Play Alberta. Casino winners every hour, jackpots worth millions, and revenue that stays in the province. There's never been a better time to sign up. Right now, you can score a $50 free bet when you make a minimum $50 deposit. Our code is GYB50. So that's GYB50 for a $50 free bet. Start playing with your game sense today to find out if you're Alberta's next big winner. So some added incentives there. Okay, Struds, I want you to hit our Relentless Player of the Day. Who's it going to be, my man? I'm
going to go with the centers. They had a great day in the faceoff. They were absolutely on fire. I think they ended up about 60-some+%. And early on, it was very, very one-sided. And I listen. A lot of analytics community doesn't believe that faceoffs matter. I do. I think I'd rather start with that puck, especially a team like Philly that, they even when they have it, they're not creating a ton of offense. So you want to start with it, make them work to get it. So kudos to, and it was kind of a mixed bag. I don't think Connor had the best day, but Roslovic was 4-0. So that was a good day, especially early for them to.
That's from Leon getting tossed out, right? The fact that Roslovic has to take that many draws.
Yeah, and I thought actually he started. Didn't he start one time? I think on the right.
Did he?
I may have. Yeah, one time in the offensive zone because Jack plays center or has played center, and as a right shot center, Leon might be take the faceoff, man. Like if you're feeling it,
let
go
him
for
step in there and do it. Noah Philp had a good night in the faceoff circle. He was 6-1. Now the one he lost was in the offensive zone. Lost it clean. Then the puck came back down to their end, and he immediately on the same shift won a defensive zone draw. So he had bared down and gotten that one. But later on in the game, so this was on the penalty kill. So Philp was having a good night in the circle, but remember, he got scored on the penalty kill. On that late kill in the defensive zone faceoff, they ended up going with Lazar in there instead of Philp for the draw, along with Seavoy. And so they trusted Lazar in that moment to win the draw. They cleared the puck. He went to the bench, and Adam Henrique stepped on the ice. So given the choice between those two guys in a big shorthanded defensive zone draw, they erred towards Lazar, I noticed, Struds.
They did, and I think there's no doubt that it is something there. But I think that's a lot about Curtis Lazar starting to carve out some trust by this coach, like the way that he's playing. And, early in the year, we're like, guys, he may end up on waivers or he's not going to play a lot. Well, he's bringing some energy to this group. He's finishing, his checks, and obviously that's what he is. He's a spark plug, kills penalties, and plays hard, whether he plays 2 minutes or 20.
All right, our Relentless players tonight brought to you by UCAN Youth Services and Edmonton charity Relentless, in creating possibilities for local youth. Mental health drives growth and success. The key to thriving, not just surviving. They've got 2 in-house counselors offering free therapy. Their youth have the support they need to navigate struggles and rediscover their strength. You can visit ucan.ca to take a look at their program, and by all means, donate if you can. Got your back. Proud to be monthly donors at UCAN Youth Services. Encourage you to do the same if you can. All right, when we come back, boy, Captain got a little roughed up tonight, didn't he? Let's talk a little bit about McDavid's night physically, what the Flyers did against him, how the Oilers responded. How did you feel about that? That and lots more. Brownie will be joining us a little bit later for Brownie Points. We'll have Struddy's World and Ask Us Anything as well. So make sure you send your comments in on the YouTube stream. Zuby will be gathering those, and we look forward to digging in on some more of your thoughts coming up a little bit later on in the show. This is Got Your Back, presented by Timberhouse Developments. Mainline Water and Sewer specializes in sewer line repair and replacement using advanced trenchless methods for fast, clean results. They provide detailed sewer assessments and scoping to identify problems before they become costly. Serving both residential and commercial properties, no job is too big or too small, and with over 40 years of experience, they've seen it all. Trust Mainline to keep your lines flowing smoothly. Ronnie Oceanfront says Struds would make a good sewer installer. Things don't work out on the pod? Hook you up with Mainline, Struddy. Time now for takeaways, brought to you by Shandos Construction. Shandos doesn't just hire talent, they invest in it. They're 100% employee owned, so when their people grow, the whole company grows. Ready to build something that matters? Apply now at shandos.com/apply. That's CHANDOS.com/apply. Boy, Trent Frederick, heroic actions last game. Well, I use that word sort of jokingly, but gutsy actions last game, Struds. Very close to being the GOAT in this one, boy. That penalty late. I love where that comes from. The Oilers need more players going to the net. What were you thinking when the big guy took that penalty at that time in the game?
Well, I felt really bad for him. I mean, earlier in the game, we've seen Lazar get really close to the netminder, and Trent Frederick tonight. So I think you got to be careful. Not you, but the coaching staff has to be careful how they interpret those things, because you want to encourage guys getting to the blue paint. When Zach Hyman comes back, that'll now be 3 guys that get to the blue paint quite regularly. I think there's other guys that could really, Jan Mark, another guy that gets in there. So I think that to be, I guess, time of game and all that stuff, but you don't want to discourage that type of activity. But there's no doubt. I mean, that was a clear-cut penalty. I don't know. I had a buddy text me saying he dove, and I don't know. But you just put yourself in that situation in that moment. You kind of you give the coin toss to the ref to make a choice.
Yeah, it's an aggressive push into the crease, and he's kind of looking down, trying to track the puck, clearly in the blue paint. Like, he's right in Vladar's kitchen and bangs into him. So I think it's the right call at the moment. But I agree with you. I really like where that comes from, and you don't want to send the signal. That's a hell of a lot different than a slashing penalty in the corner or hooking a guy because you lost a board battle on the wall. Like, that comes from a different place. And I think you got to be careful about discouraging that kind of energy. At the same time, Frederick definitely needs to be careful with that stuff. Game management, time of game. You got to take your foot off the pedal a little bit and be careful when you're in some of these tight games. From a physical standpoint tonight, Struds, so this is an example for me tonight of a Flyers team that they've got some dynamic in their lineup. They've got some physicality, not just about the fighting. I'm not just talking about Delorier and the fighting, but I'm talking about players who understand when your team doesn't seem to have it, you need to find other ways to go and take the game back. I've criticized the Oilers a ton because what the Philadelphia Flyers showed tonight is what the Oilers have been lacking for a long time, which is you're not having your best night. What can you do? So the Flyers go out, huge hit on Connor McDavid, yap, yap, yap. Energy gets going. Everybody's blood gets boiling a little bit. Then Travis Konechny being a pain in the ass and doing his thing. They shifted this game back in their favor through intangibles and through gamesmanship. And that's what this Oiler team has been lacking. So just want to point that out. When people wonder what we're talking about, that's what I'm talking about.
So I think this year they've been lacking it. I wouldn't say last year. I think last year they had Corey Perry, and I think that he understood, how to do that. So this year he had, but I was really encouraged by something we saw. Obviously, we weren't watching it in the building, but there was a timeout, and you could see Podkolzin and Nurse and Trent Frederick getting up in the faces of kind of their counterparts on the other side, and I like that. And I like that idea of you stick together, and this is the way you want to play. If a team is really trying to rough you up and you aren't quite as heavily gunned as they are, what you do is you just stay together. Instead of having one guy on his own trying to fight three guys, there's four of you in there against three of them. And if you look at that situation with Trent Frederick, Janmark stays in the fight. He goes there and actually draws another, draws the netminder of Vladar out. Everyone was in there. So you got to have that pack mentality. And that's what the Oilers are going to have. They're not built to have a fight night with Philadelphia Flyers. They're not able to do that. But they can stay together. And I really like seeing that because I think that's something we may not have seen 10, 15 games ago. I guess that would have been 10 games ago.
Okay. Bigger picture existential question for you. Should any player be, and I'm not saying that I think this, but here's the question. Should any player ever be allowed to hit Connor McDavid like that and not have all kinds of trouble for the rest of the night coming his way?
I hear where you're going. I see what you're saying. Man, he didn't get hurt on the play. I mean, it wasn't a great hit. It wasn't the worst. Should we all go jump in there? I mean, it's a close game. You probably want to get the 2 points. I'd be interested to see what Connor said. Did he say, leave it, I got it? Or, someone's got to get in there and back me up. My gut instinct says in that moment, in that tight a game, you let it slide. Take a number, get him next time.
Well, they had the rest of the game. I mean, did anybody even?
Nothing.
Yeah, I know, but I was watching for it, and I don't mean someone going and wasting one and taking a bad penalty. I know that they all rallied up in the commercial break and got in their faces a little bit. I get it. I don't think that's a situation where you say to hell with it and you go and waste one. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to waste one. And if you get a penalty, you get a penalty, and who cares? So I'm actually posing this question, Struds, and I'm not really sure what the answer is. I don't necessarily think it was a cheap hit. I don't believe it was a slew foot. I think he finished him very aggressively, which McDavid is fair game out there, but it was a big dramatic hit on their captain that pissed the Oilers off. And I was just looking for somebody within the context of the game play to try and send a signal in that game, to take a run at him, to get into it with him a little bit, for somebody to at least challenge him, something along those lines within the context of play. And unless I missed it, I mean, yapping at the commercial break is one thing when Delorier is standing right there. Making a point of giving him a rough ride the rest of the night is another. And I don't know. I'm not sure, bud.
Yeah. If it's 5-0, I think it's different than if it's 1-0. I think that this team can't be just throwing points out the window the way that they've played so far. If I was just trying to think if it was me, would I say something? 100% I would say something. There's no doubt. But with that shown on TV, maybe not. But going up there and jumping him would probably be a tight. If it's 5-0, I would probably jump him. There'd be no doubt I would jump him. But in the 1-0, don't have a lot of points. Oh, man. It's a tough call. Now, next game, you can start it out. Maybe Podkolzin can go over and talk to him right away, or Nurse right away, and just call him out.
It was a rough ride for McDavid on a few fronts, so that hit happens. The one I really didn't like was Tanner Jeannot pretending not to see him after the whistle and dropping a shoulder into him and sending McDavid into the end boards. Did you catch that just as they were going to the commercial break? Mm-hmm. I watched it again, and Jeannot like purposely looks away like, oh, I don't see him, and thumped him after the whistle had already gone. That one to me was worse, and Connor got up. Again, Connor got up, but that's now twice that guys have taken liberties with and taken advantage of McDavid. I would prefer it if this group, as a group, made sure that wasn't allowed to happen. I think it's better over the long haul to have the people in place that don't allow that. I did not like that Hathaway one. Or Jeannot, sorry.
Jeannot, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. What's that?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I got screwed up there.
No. Listen, I hear everything you're saying, and I guess, because a big part of me, like I always responded, right? I always would get in there and do it, but you have to understand the timing of it and what's going on out there. The Flyers, they had nothing going on, so they're trying to stir something up. The Oilers are right now don't have many players that can respond to that, especially at the top. Delourier's a pretty tough guy. He's in the top 10 in the league for sure. Yeah. And if you go after, that's in this case, Sealer, do you have to fight Delourier? You don't. You don't have to fight anybody you don't want to, but it may open a can of worms. It's not worth it. I thought the Oilers, for the most part, I'll reword it. The Oilers stuck together tonight, and that's what you need to do when things get a little bit rough like that. Now, can they add someone? They added Sam Carrot a couple of years ago to add a little bit of juice, and I'm not sure that really worked. Like, if you're going to add someone with some juice, that's why Evander Kane was so deadly. He was in the top 9, and he was playing, 14, 15 minutes. You're out there quite a bit. So you have him on the ice, then Corey Perry, then Darnell Nurse. Like, you've got a lot of people that are willing and able to take care of anything that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, the one during play, I'll let go. The one after the play from that guy. And by the way, I think I might have said, I've always confused him and Garnet Hathaway. So Garnet Hathaway, right. My bad. I didn't like that one after the whistle. So that one's there. All right, Struds. What else we got tonight, buddy? I did want to ask you about the disallowed goal. A couple people here on the stream have mentioned they didn't love Darnell Nurse in front of the net there. So last game we saw a play where Nurse kind of backs himself way in behind the goal line in a critical moment and just in weird positioning. And then tonight he's in the crease for that goal that was scored. And I watched it again here. He wasn't overly aggressive in trying to clear the crease out, I would say. And some people on the stream have been suggesting that here tonight. I don't know if you have access to it or you can watch it again, but have you watched it with an eye specifically on Nurse?
No, to be honest, I looked at Janmark and then Connect Me. Those are the two, because it was further up the ice, and
I'm going to text the highlight to you, Struds, and you can take a quick look and take a quick look and let me know what you think. Okay. So we're going to do the YouTube poll in the meantime, and then I'll get your answer on that one, Struddy. Our YouTube poll is brought to you by DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center. Get fit now before you get out your shovels and ice chippers. Get fitted while you still have your summer swing. Their TrackMan bays are ready and the deals are hot. Go down and check out their pro shop style atmosphere located at 5311 99th Street in Edmonton. All right, Zuby, what do we got for a poll tonight, my friend?
Yeah, we're looking a little bit down the road here, but especially I think this is kind of inspired by recent uptick in play from Matt Seavoy. So the question tonight is, when Nuge returns to action, where do you want him mostly to play this season? Only two choices here. The choices are you want him to be a top 6 winger or your third line center.
Yeah, I like that. I think that has a lot to do with the conversations that we've been having about Seavoy. I think we're about to dig in on Mangiapane a little bit here. Do the Oilers have the oomph in the top 6 that they're going to need to allow Nugent Hopkins to play at that third center position? In an ideal world, that'd be great to have that 3-headed monster, Struds. So what do you think, Struds? Like where do you think Nugent Hopkins should play the majority of his time when he gets back? What would you like to see?
I've been shouting from the rooftops, and Zuby knows that I believe Nuge should be the third line center. I want to have strengths down the middle, accompanied by the 6D I have, and I want that because they do so much on the ice. That group of, I guess, 10 players. So I'm putting Nuge down there. That means it'll be Hyman with Seavoy up top. I couldn't be more clear, and I think it adds another dimension having him down there, and perhaps creates more offense off that third line.
Now, would you be willing to just blanket statement that, Struds, regardless of how the top 6 winger candidates are performing? You know what I mean? Because I'm sure Chris Knobloch would love to just play Nugent Hopkins every game at third line center, but there are things that happen and underperformers and a lack of top 6 forwards. So do you believe that Knobloch should be powering through with Nuge down the middle, regardless of what's going on the flanks in the top 6?
So I think Roslovic's opened a lot of eyes, and his time with Leon has been successful. Now, is it going to continue? I'm not sure. No one can guess the future. But right now, this moment, if Nuge came back into lineup tomorrow, he's my third line center. I'm going to leave Seavoy up there. I'm pushing Mangiapane down. So it would be Hyman, Seavoy, and McDavid. Then the line Leon currently is. Now, if people change or there's injuries, whatever, then of course we have to change. But I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future. I just know right now I feel very, very comfortable with that. Then my third line is maybe, is it Mangiapane and Trent Frederick on there? Something. I'd have to put a little more thought into that, but I'm just looking at the top 6 right now.
All right. Did you get another look at that disallowed goal, Struds? I looked at it again, too. I didn't love Nurse in front of the net, buddy. I thought he was pretty passive there.
So he's battling with Sean Couturier, I believe, a big human, but there's zero effort to push him out of the way or lift his stick. So he's a big guy. You've got to clear the front of the net. Now, is that the reason the puck went in? I don't know. I think that the other D was trying to front the puck as well. So there's a few things that happened there, but 100% he needs to lift the stick and push him out of the way, at least attempt to. They're both just sitting there. And if you're just going to stand there beside your buddy or beside your opponent, you are becoming a screen. And that's what he was there. So wasn't played correctly.
Let's quickly dig in here as we wrap up takeaways on Andrew Mangiapane and what we are seeing here, Struds. It looks like he's having trouble finding his footing. It looks like he's having trouble, figuring out what the right play is. So far, the returns have been pretty minimal here, and I know you're not loving a lot of the decision-making as well.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think that, it's always an adjustment when you come to a new team. And I had high hopes. I like this signing. I think he's a guy that can chip in 20, 25 goals. And he's got, 3 or 4, I think, so far through this stretch. But what I'm seeing is giveaways and turnovers that are ill-advised. Just like I talked about Seavoy earlier, that the play is going through him rather than stopping at him. Often when Mangiapane's getting it, not every time, but too often, I'll put it that way, the puck isn't going through him. The play doesn't continue to go through him. And that's frustrating for top players. They don't want to play that way. They want the puck to come through to them. So from them to you and back to them or back to someone. So the play continues.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if, he consistently finds himself down the lineup when the Oilers get some bodies back here and he's being outplayed by some young guys. I think Ike Howard's right there in terms of getting more done with what he's doing. And quite frankly, fewer costly mistakes, I would say, from Howard so far than Mangiapane. Is that fair?
Yeah. And yes. Yeah. And he's getting, he seemed like, I think he had 2 or 3 shots tonight and, he's playing less though, to be fair. But Seavoy, I think, brings something to that top line that Mangiapane hasn't. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Mangiapane needs to find some edge to his game. That's when he's at his best. I think he, just like Evander Kane, when Evander was emotionally engaged in the games, he was a better player. And we haven't seen much emotional engagement for Mangiapane at all as an Oiler so far.
He's a guy that should be able to do what Konechny did tonight, right? Not the biggest guy in the world. But that is a similar energy level that we've seen from Mangiapane at times in his career. Mangiapane should be a guy that can go doing what Konechny did to that game tonight, which was muck it up in the corners, drew a penalty, right? He's getting in there, being annoying. Konechny, I know the goal didn't count, but he ends up, he's a gamer. And Mangiapane knows how to be that gamer, Struds, but he's having trouble finding that.
Yeah, he hasn't found it yet. And I think where if not already, we're getting into the territory. You have a conversation with them as a coach and say, hey,
Yeah.
this is when you're at your best. And you haven't done that so far. Yeah, we want you to score, but you have to do a lot of other things. If you're not scoring, you better score 20 goals. You better be at 10 goals already if you're not doing those other things.
All right, that was Takeaways brought to you by Shandos. A little bit of a curveball here, Zuby. We're a few minutes away from Brownie, so maybe hold him off. And Struds, let's skip ahead and get our Take a Lap segment done. We'll see what else is going on around the National Hockey League, brought to you by Riverside Motorsports, family-owned and operated, serving Edmonton and area for over 55 years. They feature top brands like Yamaha, Suzuki, Polaris, Husqvarna, Gas, delivering the best selection in Alberta, a massive inventory of parts and accessories, and recognized as the #1 KTM dealership in the country. Check them out at www.riversidemotorsports.com or stop in at their store just off of St. Albert Trail. I think we have a goaltending focus tonight in Taking a Lap, Struddy.
It's funny. It's funny. After I text you, I realized it was all about the goalies.
All goalies. Yeah, Zuby will love this one. Zuby, you got to hop in here, buddy.
Yeah, the Zoob's going to want to hear about. So Thatcher Demko left the game yesterday after the first period with some discomfort, and apparently he's out for 2 or 3 weeks. I couldn't find out, or I couldn't see if it was related to the injury he had previously. I watched some of that game. To me, it looked like a groin. I'm just guessing here from a distance, no insider. So Thatcher Demko out, but that's why they have Kevin Lankinen signed up to back him up.
Yeah, Demko, and they were saying it's something different, right? So he missed some time.
Well, they did say it's different. Okay.
Well, that's what the original report that I saw was, that they felt like that it was something different. But he just recently had missed some time, and they said it's different than what he had just recently missed some time. It's getting a little bit convoluted and strange, but safe to say, the lower body has been an issue for this guy, Struds. And man, like when he's healthy, he's showing what he's capable of, but staying healthy that's everything in a goaltender's world.
Yeah. So as a teammate, #1, you're like, hey man, I feel bad for this guy. We need him healthy. But #2, selfishly, we need this guy healthy. You know what I mean? Like that's the truth. Do we have him or not have him? Right. And that's the hard part. I remember when Habib Boulin was here and going through the back injuries, he was always tough. Is he going to be okay? Is he not going to be okay? Right. You want him here and healthy. But I'm not sure where that's going to be. So 2 to 3 weeks, see if that is actually the time. I hope he does come back, is able to play. A goalie who left for personal reasons from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Joseph Wall, missed everything, and we don't know why, and whatever, that's his business. But he's come back. He worked his way back, and tonight he played his first game for the Marlies in the AHL, lost in overtime. Doesn't really matter. Sounds like he had a pretty good game. They need him. Stolars is out and has an upper body injury, along with Austin Matthews, who has a lower body injury, not a goalie. I recognize that. So, but they need him back because I don't believe Stolars can carry the load of playing as much as he has.
No.
It hasn't gone well for him.
Since he popped off,
100%. And I think that part of that is he's been playing so much, right? So I think that he is in that situation. So they need Wall back, and the Wall Stolars duo last year worked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I know your point is fair that he's been playing a lot, but you can't help but think those two things are somewhat connected. That made headlines out there. People talk about it being a tough market to play in. When something like that happens in that market and he says what he says, it's a 13 out of 10 for 4 days until you're in there again, or however long it was. It just gets really loud. So interesting to see in reflection what that moment was like for him. What's our final one, buddy?
Last one quickly. Spencer Martin played in HL for off and on last year.
Yes.
He signed in KHL while his contract was terminated. He's come back, signs a 2-year contract with the Rangers. So this year and next year, has to clear waivers, but a bit of a unique situation. Like the KHL, it's weird. You just get terminated Tuesday, signed to the Rangers Wednesday, and he's on his way back. Crazy. I believe he'll report to. He was just waived. He signed and was waived. He'll report to their AHL team.
All right, the goaltending carousel continues. That was Take a Lap, brought to you by Riverside Motorsports. Okay, I think we got Brownie ready to roll. So when we come back, we're going to get the big man's take on tonight's game. We'll have Brownie Points, Struddy's World, our core adjustments, and ask us anything as well. Get your questions in on the stream. Still lots ahead here on Got Your Back, presented by Timberhouse Developments.
Choosing to buy a home is one of the biggest financial and personal decisions you'll ever make. It's a decision that requires strategic planning, market expertise, and a trusted advisor to guide the way. The team at Body Realty with Royal LePage AR team combines deep market knowledge, forward-thinking guidance, and exceptional dedication to make the process effortless and stress-free. Where every client is treated like the only client, visit BattyRealty.com, a real estate group like no other.
So at Timberhouse, our guiding philosophy is naturally inspired living. We believe that through design, we can solve problems and enhance people's lives. We follow biophilic design principles in all of our builds to incorporate natural materials, natural light, to enhance all the spaces in a home. When you have your space perfectly reflect who you are and what you value, and it's made well, we think that that just leads to better living.
People have no idea how sharp Zuby has to be behind the scenes. We're like changing our mind last second, making decisions. We're doing brownie points. We're doing core adjustments. Meanwhile, Zuby's just like, tell me what I'm doing here, boys. But he always has it on lock. And it is time for brownie points, brought to you by the Alberta Ram dealers. Get 10 years of built-in confidence at your Alberta Ram dealer with Canada's best full-size truck, limited powertrain warranty. Every new 2026 Ram truck comes with a 10-year, 160,000-kilometer warranty. Check out your Ram dealer today as we say good evening to Rob Brown, fresh off the post-game show over on 880 Ched. Give us your points for the night tonight, buddy.
Well, let's start with 1.5 brownie points to Jack Roslovic, who, after signing a $1.5 million deal with the Oilers, is easily the Oilers' third best player right now. And on a lot of nights, he's either been their best player or second best. I think there's been a lot of criticism with Stan Bowman with some of the moves that he's made or hasn't made yet. This has been a great signing for both Jack Roslovic and for the Edmonton Oilers, and a very smart play Roslovic made in overtime. There's a fumble of the puck at the blue line, and just minutes after we saw the Philadelphia player Tippett make a boneheaded play and go offside, watch Roslovic drag his foot to make sure that he does not go in out of the puck, and he is rewarded with another overtime winning goal. I got 11 brownie points. The Flyers' star player Travis Konecny, who was very, very quiet early in this game, as were all the Flyers, but in the second half of this game, you saw why he was part of Team Canada at the Four Nations tournament. I'm not sure he's on in the season this year that will get him back on the Olympic team, but tonight was a good example of what he can bring if given that opportunity. He was excellent in the second half. I've got 2 brownie points. Oilers' Stuart Skinner, who in back-to-back games has made huge saves in overtime to allow his team to come for back-to-back overtime wins. After the Colorado debacle, Skinner said his job was to make big saves at big moments, and he has in back-to-back games. Good for Stuart Skinner. I got 23 brownie points to St. Albert's Matt Seavoy, who continues to impress. Seavoy has only played 23 games in his young NHL career, but has looked like a seasoned veteran who hasn't let the big moments smother him. Tonight, with 5 minutes to go in a 1-1 game, he's on the ice to start a penalty kill. And then in overtime, after Connor and Leon, he is the next group of pair, or the next pair to go on the ice. So in the last 6 minutes of this hockey game, tie game, the kid with 23 games under his belt helped kill off a penalty that helped set up the game winner. And finally, I've got 15 brownie points to Matthias Janmark, who is finally healthy and back in the lineup and bringing a raspiness to this game that the Oilers' bottom six has lacked all season long. He's a player that has the full trust of his coaching staff, and I thought was very noticeable in his 15 minutes of play. I've read a lot of articles recently saying Janmark will be traded when this team gets healthy. I disagree. I think he is exactly what the Oilers need in their bottom six. He brings the Oilers into the fight when there's a lack of emotion in a hockey game. I thought we saw that tonight when he got involved with Vladar of the Philadelphia Flyers. And those, my friends, are my brownie points.
Brownie, really well done. And I appreciate what you're saying about Janmark. I think that he can give some identity to the fourth line. Like, I think he's a fourth liner, but he's going to give some idea of what that should feel like. And I'd like to think he'll talk to his line mates saying, hey, we got to get in there. We got to, be heavy. And this is a way that we play. This is how we need to play. And I think on the other side, I think Lazar might be his counterpart in that.
Well, it's funny, Strud, that you say that. During the game tonight off air, I'm like, I would have Curtis Lazar in my fourth line every game. I would. He understands his role like Janmark does. They understand what they're supposed to do. Lazar finishes every check. He gets to the red line. He gets the puck in every time. He's got the trust of the coaching staff as well. And for fourth line players, you have a job to bring energy, to bring a bit of edginess to the game. They don't need a Howard or a Tomashik on their fourth line. They need guys that will get involved like Janmark did tonight with Vladar. He went right after the goalie, got into his grill and pissed him off. That's what they need. So I thought Janmark was very good in this hockey game, and he is exactly what they've been missing on their fourth line.
Great stuff. That is Brownie Points, brought to you by the Alberta Ram Dealers. We're going to switch over to our core adjustments, brought to you by HSE Core Services. From creating and managing safety programs to audits and those required contractor registries, HSE Core keeps your business compliant so you can keep working. Visit www.hsecor.com for more information. Struds and I were mulling something around last segment, Brownie. I'd like your opinion on it. I'm not sure either of us had a definitive answer, but the sealer hit on McDavid, during the course of play, okay, but pretty aggressive hit on him. I know there was some jawing at a commercial break, but really as far as in play, no real consequence for Sealer on that. And then you had the Hathaway cheap shots after the whistle where he pretended not to see McDavid and dropped his shoulder into him. And as far as we can see, nobody does anything about that. So I don't know. I know the game isn't the same way that it used to be, Brownie, but should teams be able to do both of those things to Connor McDavid on a given night and have it kind of just be not that big a deal?
Well, Steeler hit was a clean hit, so I have no problem with that at all. On the Hathaway one, I think Connor played it up more than it was. Hathaway knew exactly what he was doing, and I would do it too. Smart play by Hathaway. It's Connor McDavid, you have a chance to bump him. I think Connor McDavid is the strongest player in the National Hockey League on his team. There's no one even close. If Connor McDavid goes down there, it's because Connor McDavid wanted to go down there. So, yeah, it's a 1-1 game. Your team is struggling to put back-to-back good games. For them to go out and do anything there and take a penalty and jeopardize a win, it was a bump. Yeah, I have no problem with no response there. I think it would have been silly to respond and take a penalty on a nothing play.
All right.
If you watch the Maple Leafs the other day when Zadorov hit Austin Matthews, and quite a while later, 2 periods later, actually, Max Domi goes and takes a penalty on him. And, I love Max Domi for trying to take on Zadorov, but Zadorov has bigger lunches than Max Domi, and that's just ill-advised time, to do it.
And we're getting some multiple responses here on the stream. So Zuby, maybe for Ask Us Anything, if you want to maybe work a few of the responses, because we're getting some in both directions here by our fabulous listeners and viewers here on the YouTube stream. I had another thing for you, Brownie. Where the heck was I taking us next? Struds, you got something for him? I had it. It was right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, well, let's ask him the poll. Was it about the poll?
No, go ahead. Do that.
Yeah, so we were just talking about when Nugent Hopkins returns, the poll is, do you believe you stay beside Connor McDavid, or would you slot him in as a third-line center?
I would have him with Connor McDavid to start with. I would have Hyman, McDavid, and Nugent Hopkins. I'd have Roslovic, Colson, and Leon. I'd have Henrique with Mangiapane and Seavoy. And then I would have probably Frederick with Janmark and Lazar until Kapanen comes back. I would do that to start. I haven't minded the game of Henrique as of late. And that way, Henrique, Seavoy, and Mangiapane, you could use them as a line because you feel good about them defensively, but they also could have a little pop offensively, and that's something that we haven't had in our bottom six. And then just see how Nuge does. I know Stoff right now keeps pushing for Seavoy on the first line. Problem with Seavoy, I don't see the finish yet. That was a really nice play in overtime, the pass, but I haven't seen the shot, the finish with the shot yet. And if you're playing with Connor McDavid, you've got to have finish to your game. So I would start with Nugent Hopkins on the first line with the option to move him down to the third line.
Yeah, great points there, Brownie. I was going to ask you guys about Leon Draisaitl. I've been talking a little bit about his body language this season and some frustration creeping into his game. Definitely thought tonight was a night where there was a lot of that on display as well. So he's been held pointless in 3 of his last 5 games. I think he's got 2 points in his last 5 games now. Nothing against St. Louis. Or no, check. Yeah, nothing against St. Louis. 1 against Dallas. 1 against Colorado. Nothing against Columbus. And then nothing again here tonight. And I thought, I don't think they should have put him on the ice in the final minute. I thought that he was, even late in that game, showing signs of frustration. They ended up getting scored on, and that goal didn't count. But I wouldn't have gone to him. I just didn't think he was dialed in this game and allowing frustration to creep in. So, I don't know, Struddy, what are you seeing in Draisaitl? Do you agree with me that this body language stuff is more than we've seen in previous years?
You know, I didn't notice it quite as much as you did, and I think you look for that. I look at other areas of the game. We all have our own things we look for. The thing with Leon, and I know what you're saying about the end of the game there. I do see it, but he's so dangerous, and he can have one good shift and win a game for you. So I have a hard time not putting him out there in that moment, and he's your biggest, strongest center. So you know, even if he's not feeling 100% in the way he's playing, I still think Brownie, I just have a hard time keeping him off the ice.
And I honestly, I haven't had a problem with the body language or the frustration. I don't think Leon the last couple nights has been as good as Leon's capable of playing. He has not had back-to-back good games. There's a stretch where I thought he was outstanding, but the last 3 or 4 games he hasn't been as good. As for in the last minute of the game, well, yeah, he's Leon Draisaitl. 100% you have on the ice. There's no question you have him on the ice. The goal that got scored against had nothing to do with Leon Draisaitl. That was just unlucky for the Oilers. But yeah, you don't if you don't like the frustration level, most best players, when as Strud says, they only need one moment. I mean, if Connor McDavid, we've seen a couple games this year where he's been looked really frustrated and the body language is bad. I mean, you're going to keep him off the ice in the last minute of a tied game? No. So, yeah, Leon Draisaitl needs to be on the ice in the last minute of a hockey game because he's top 4 players in the world, and a lot of nights he's 1 or 2.
He didn't stay on, though, and that wasn't a very long shift before they got scored on. So they did actually pull him after that. He didn't finish the third period on the ice. They pulled him after that goal was scored. It was a 20-second shift.
Yeah, but it's not sure they pulled him because of the shift. Maybe they wanted a different line out there to save him because he was going to be starting the overtime. I'm not sure they pulled him because they felt he looked frustrated. You know he's going out the first shift of overtime. Maybe you're taking him off, give him a little breather because you know he has a chance to win the game 2 minutes later.
Yeah. Just could not disagree with you more on this, Brownie. I think Draisaitl, he had a shift in the third period that was just an atrocious shift with 7 minutes left. Pass didn't come his way. He got frustrated, stood up, big circle, meanders back. I thought he was just way off of it tonight. And they know he gets a 2.5 minute break before overtime starts. You're not pulling him off the ice in the last minute of a tie game because you're worried he's going to be tired for overtime. He was not very good, and his body language was bad. And it's been a few games of this. And I couldn't disagree with you more. I don't think you're taking this one, you're seeing this one for what it is.
Well, if you're going with that, then why are you putting him out in overtime?
Well, of course you're putting him out in overtime. It's overtime.
Why? You just said that you wouldn't have had him in the last minute of a tied game because of his body language and his frustration. Well, why are you going to put him out in overtime? He's still got the same body
Because he's
language
going
and
to do his
frustration.
thing in overtime, Brownie. He's Leon Draisaitl. He's going to perk up for overtime, and he's going to rise to the moment. But after the night he'd had, I wouldn't have had him anywhere near the ice in the last minute.
I can't disagree with you more on that. If you just said he's going to rise to the moment, that's why you have him out the last minute of a hockey game. He could have a horrible hockey game. At the last minute, he's still going to rise up. So, yeah, no, Leon Draisaitl, you don't pull him off the ice because he has bad body language, ever.
It's not because he has bad body language. That is a symptom of what's going on. That's how you can see where he's at and where his head is at, right? That's the signal in his game that he's not in it. And because I don't think he played very well tonight.
That makes no sense. Oh, he didn't. He didn't. But to me, if he didn't play well and his head's not in it, but you're going to put him out in overtime, which is you can be even more exposed. So I don't understand if you won't have him with the last minute. It's easier to hide a player on a 5-on-5 if he's having an off night. It's impossible to hide a player 3-on-3.
There's no chance they wouldn't put him on in overtime. Doesn't matter what happened for the rest of the game.
Well, that's why they put him on in the last minute, because there's no chance they were going to put him on there either.
And then they took him off. Okay, go ahead, Struds.
Who was the last line? Wasn't the last line, was it Janmark and Henrique? Am I right?
Yeah, I think 13 was out there. I can sort of check the shift chart here while I'm talking, or while you're talking. Yeah, Janmark took it to the end. Let me check here. I'll see if Henrique, I think, took it to the end as well. So Janmark, Henrique.
Yeah, so they put a third line kind of, or a hybrid of the bottom six.
They pulled him off. With 37 seconds left in a tie game. They pulled him off.
And McDavid out for the last shift.
He was out the second last shift.
Yeah, but with Leon, and then they pulled their line off.
No, it wasn't. McDavid was on a 5-on-5 line with a different shift. Then they followed up with Draisaitl's line. And I said to myself, I would not be going with Draisaitl right now. It was a different shift than McDavid.
Connor and Leon were out together for a while on their shift. And then it was time for another line, and they went to a third line. And they didn't put Connor out with 23 seconds ago, which they could have. But they went to a different line. So, yeah, I miss your meaning on this, because if you're not playing him because you don't like his body language, I don't see how you play him in overtime.
I don't like the way he played, Brownie. I don't like the way he played. It's not because I didn't like his body language.
Yes,
I didn't like the way he played.
Okay, I understand that. But then why would you don't like the way he played and you put him out 3-on-3? That's even worse.
Couldn't disagree with you more. You can dislike the way a guy plays and understand he's one of the most dangerous weapons in the world, and you have to play him in overtime. Struds, finish this off, and then we'll move on.
5-on-5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know where to jump in on this one, boys. It's like mom and dad are fighting, and I'm just watching. I'm worried they're going to get a divorce here.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right, Brownie, respect it. Love ya. Great debate. Let us know what you think in the stream. I'm seeing some comments whiz by here. There's some people that are telling me they think I'm completely nuts. Taking a few losses, taking a few wins. Nate, hey, I agree with Schauger on this, but I saw a couple where they were ripping me too. So listen, great discussion, great debate. That's why we do it. That was our core adjustments, brought to you by HSE Core Services. All right, time to just chill out a little bit. Everybody relax and get that biophilic, relaxing feeling. Maybe that's what we need to do when we get arguing too much here on the show. We need to take a little biophilic moment now and then to just kind of relax ourselves. Zuby, maybe we can come up with like a little sound effect or something that can give us all that breather that we need. And in the meantime, go ahead and roll the intro. It's time for Struddy's World.
When you make a mistake, heads should roll. It's not right. And I'm here. Someone has to put their foot down. Now that I say it out loud, it does sound a little crazy. Gotta look good.
And Struddy's World World is brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products, Alberta's leading supplier of vinyl products offering premium materials for fences and decks designed to stand the test of time. No rotting, fading, or deteriorating. Whether you're looking for a professional contractor or planning to tackle the project yourself, they have the resources and expertise to help. Canadian owned and operated with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Check them out online, dlrvinylproducts.ca. Uncle Struddy.
Yeah, let's calm it down. Time for the entertainment. So what I think is that the Blackhawks need to make a trade. I'm not talking about trading away anyone. I'm talking about bringing someone in. Their team is showing signs of life. They are currently in a playoff spot, and whether they make the playoffs or not, I'm not sure really matters. What matters is that team believes they're getting better, and if they make the playoffs, that's great. So looking at their situation with their draft picks, they have 2 first-rounders and 3 second-rounders heading into this year's draft for this year. And that's massive. They have tons of cap space, and they have a youngish team that's really going for it. They've got Connor Bedard playing out of his mind, taking a big step this year. And they have 4 or 5 young D-men that are going the right direction, along with Grzelcyk and Connor Murphy back there. I believe this team should use some of those draft picks and add a player. Now, I'm not talking about a rental. I'm talking about a player that has term left on his contract, someone who maybe wants to be moved on or you want to move on from. A guy like Nazem Kadri. Not Nazem Kadri, but someone like that. And specifically, I'm looking at a winger with some term left to come in and help these guys. I'd love if he was younger. But guys, I'm bullish on the Chicago Blackhawks along with some other teams. But take those assets. All those 5 players aren't going to play for you. You might not even have the space for them. So take it, get someone that can help you now, and like a mid-level aged forward, winger in this case.
Well, Struds, what you're saying too is you're when you do that, the GM or the management group is sending a message to the players. We believe in you and we're going to reward you. And I think that's
100%.
huge, especially for a young team that is overachieved. But it has to be, as you said, it can't be a rental. It has to be a player that you're going to keep. I hate rentals. I think those are the dumbest trades you could possibly make. There's only one team wins the Stanley Cup. Everyone else's rentals were a waste of time. But if you can get someone that brings a little bit of leadership into that dressing room, maybe even someone that's been around that has won a championship before, that can help guide and show you the right direction. 100%. If you've got a team that's overachieving, then go out there and reward those players for that play. It'll go a long way if you believe in those players will start to believe in management, and then you have a pretty happy family.
Interesting too, though, Brownie, because you have this development plan. You get this first overall pick, and it's going to take this many years in your mind before you're going to be ready to compete. And I'm sure that management has this idea in their mind of how long this should take. And in one way, you want to stay disciplined and stay with the plan. But on the other hand, you got to adjust to what's going on right in front of you, which I think is kind of Struddy's point here. Like, you got to let the group send the signal when they're ready to take the step, regardless of what your timing and plan might have been.
Well, you go back to looking at when Vegas had their draft the year they came into the league. I don't think Vegas was planning on going to the Stanley Cup Finals that year. They had a plan. We're going to get all of these players and assets, and at the deadline, we're going to move them and try to get more draft picks. But the plan changed because the team overachieved, and they did the opposite. Let's add to our team. The one thing that I think Chicago, I know the Struddy, you said maybe a winger. I think Chicago, a solid defenseman is what they need. They got some young guys on the back end. And if they want to be a playoff team this year, I think that's the one area they need a little bit of veteran savvy, that when you get into bigger, more important games, and now they're close, who you can put on the ice that you have faith in. Because I think that's the one part of their game right now that they need a little bit of help, and that would be a veteran defenseman that can come in and just solidify a group of really good young defensemen that they have.
Yeah, see, I'll challenge you with that. You let them roll, and you got to let these guys figure it out. They're not winning the Stanley Cup this year. Even if they make it to playoffs, they're not. So I want to play these young guys. They've got some good young D there, man. And I would be – that's why I don't want to touch them. And that's why I wouldn't want to get a center either. They've got Bedard. They got Nazar – or no, Frankie Nazar, another guy there. So I don't want to give – I want those guys to experience this, but I want to bolster the wings. So yeah, I wouldn't want to bring in a D-man. I want those guys to figure it out on the fly. Go out there and yeah, they're going to make some mistakes, but you're not winning the cup anyway, so who cares? Let them figure it out.
Yeah,
Hey, Brownie,
but just think though, if
go
they
ahead.
bring someone in and get themselves into the playoffs somehow, to me it comes down to the trade deadline. If the trade deadline, if the Chicago Blackhawks are close or in a playoff spot, I think they have to go out and solidify the back end and give them something. You can run with all the other ones, but they need their one big veteran defenseman away from being able to compete with the big boys. So to me, if at the deadline they are still in a playoff spot,
Brownie.
I think you have to. What?
Brownie, they're not one D-man away from competing with the big boys like that.
Competing, not winning. But I mean making the top 16, making the playoffs.
Oh,
yeah, I
okay,
think they've got a good
yeah.
team to make. They're not an elite team. No, not even close.
Yeah, okay.
Not even
But
close. But to compete for a playoff spot, I think they need a defense. I don't think they can make the playoffs with the defense they have.
But see, I would say that I want my young D-men to experience that. I want them to go through it because you're looking at guys like Crevier and Kaiser, the young Russian, Sammy Rinzel, like these guys, Vlasic, who I really like. They got to go through that.
Yep.
I want them, so they'll be better for it going forward. So now I can't, because they had a guy like that. His name was Seth Jones. They traded him away for a goalie that's playing really well for him. So I wouldn't take
that was a good trade for both teams.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Yeah, for sure with the way it's playing in net, for sure. Spencer Knight.
All right. Love it. That was Struddy's World, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Paulie says, Mom and Dad sure calmed down quick. Of course we did. Of course we did. It's all in good fun. Great discussion. Brownie, are you home yet? You sitting in the driveway, or you want to head inside or stick it out in the car for Ask Us Anything?
I'm still driving right now, so I will stick it out and I'll just see if I can find the northern lights while we talk.
Okay, sounds good, buddy. Let's take a quick break, Zuby. I think we got one more, and when we come back, I think we're basically rolling right into our Ask Us Anything segment. So lots still ahead here on Got Your Back, presented by Timberhouse Developments. Where do you come out on all these arguments? Weigh in, folks.
For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit BelvedereGCC.com today.
Why would you? Nobody puts in wood windows or siding anymore, so why put in wood fences? A maintenance-free vinyl fence from DLR is backed by a lifetime warranty and will save you time. Weekends are for playing, not painting. Go vinyl at DLRvinylproducts.ca.
I feel like this could be a biophilic theme song. This feels a little biophilic. By the way, you want to talk about why would ya? How about a young Bruno Zabunya who's been listening to Dad at work and firing this gem out for you? Go ahead and roll it, Zuby, making his Got Your Back debut, the little man.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Why would ya? Nobody puts in wood fences or wood siding anymore.
Woo! You got to re-rack that, Zuby. I don't know if we could hear that. Can we hear that good
turn
enough?
Your scarf on. Light it up. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Why would ya? Nobody puts in wood fences or wood siding anymore.
Woo! I feel like there's a future marketing opening at DLR Vinyl Products. Did you see him in that role, Zuby, doing a little marketing?
All right, good one, pal. Oh, sorry, I was muted there, but you guys were live. Yeah, I said he'd be more like a spokesperson than in the marketing and the creative chair. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he'll surprise me. Long way to go there.
I love it. Why would you? Good stuff. Thank you, Bruno. Nice job. The check is in the mail. Where are we going now? Struddy, why don't we rip off a scoreboard here, buddy? Because there were not a ton of action in the National Hockey League, but a little bit out there to talk about. And our scoreboard, as always, is brought to you by The Bridge Fit. They want to remind you most private health benefits reset at the end of the year. You've been putting off treatment. Now's the time to book and make the most of your coverage before it renews in 2026. Year-end availability filling up fast across all the locations, so don't wait. They got clinics in Edmonton, Sherwood Park, Lethbridge, and St. Albert shortly. They're building one in St. Albert. The Bridge provides accessible team-based care across Alberta. Learn more at thebridge.fit. Struds?
Yeah, the Rangers rolled into Tampa, and they won 7-3 on the back of 2 goals from Will Cooley and 2 goals from Vinny Trocheck. Vinny was +4. He's had a big impact on this team since coming back from injury. On the flip side of that, Charles-Edouard Dazus was -5, a D-man. That is a complete nightmare for any team.
Ouch.
That is a nightmare of nightmares. Obviously, we know the Oilers Flyers. Then the Mammoths get back on the winning streak. They had lost 3 in a row, I believe, and they win 5-2 over the mighty Sabres to take that. And in action right now, a pretty exciting game from what I can see out of the corner of my eye. The Devils Blackhawks are tied at 3 with 3 minutes to go in the third period.
All right, there you go. That's our scoreboard brought to you by The Bridge Sports Therapy and Training. All right, Zoobs, hop on in here, buddy, and wrap up that YouTube poll of ours.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the shot. I think this is... All right. Yeah, the poll tonight was when Nuge returns to action, where do you want him to mostly play this season? I feel like this is a bit of a surprise, but maybe no. We got 69% saying third line center, so pretty overwhelmingly. People want to see him in that third line center spot. 31% saying top 6 winger. 385 votes on the stream. These streams are getting, we're regularly cresting 500 live on the stream. We're going to be that 1,000 sound effect. I got it warmed up. It's going to be coming soon. So nice to see so many people joining us.
Right on. Love the live audience here on Got Your Back. All right, time for Ask Us Anything. And lucky, we get Rob Brown sticking around for this one, so you can get your questions into him as well. Brought to you by BJ Electric Supplies. Founded in 1976, they're a full-line distributor providing quality wholesale electrical products for use in industrial, commercial, and residential settings. Proudly owned and operated in Edmonton. Visit bjelectric.ca. I will, for the most part, let Struds and Brownie field most of these, Zuby. I'll hop in if I feel necessary, but let's stick with the stars tonight for these questions.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Let me get Struddy back online here. Make this shot a little handsomer. There it is. All right.
There it is, yeah.
Okay, our friend Kayla Weathorn since that the Oilers, in her mind, have looked more motivated since Janmark's return to the ice. Do you agree with that? What do you think the Janitors brought since his return here, Struddy?
Well, first, the best nickname on the team by far. But Brownie talked about before, he's a gamer, right? And he brings some life to this team and some speed. He actually, he does skate very quickly. So I think those are 2 areas that they need in that bottom 6. And if I'm Phil or others, I'd be watching him and understanding what he's doing and try to bring that to my game as well.
That's a good point, Struddy. It's a great example of how to carve out a career in the National Hockey League, playing bottom 6 role. I mean, he's got that irritating smile on his face. He gets in the face of the other player and he just grins at them and he just grabs them and yaps at them. That's what you do when you're a bottom 6 player. You don't need to score goals. You need to irritate. And they had not had enough players in their bottom 6 doing that. I thought Janmark was quieter last game. I thought he was excellent in this hockey game.
JL asks, why do the Oilers play so close to Skinner? On the first goal, he couldn't even move his glove to try to make the save. I know we talked a little bit about Nurse being there. I did know. I mean, I understand. It's penalty kill. They're trying to collapse. We've certainly talked about them playing too far from Skinner at other times, but it's got to be such a fine line, Struddy, because you don't want to be making contact with your own goalie. It's very distracting to have that happen. So what are you seeing?
Well, first off on that, you want to set up shop further away from your own net, they're too close. Like if they are too close, you got to push guys away to create space for your netminder. That's a big one there. But on that first power play goal, Evan Bouchard's got to get in the shooting lane. We have talked about Roslovic earlier I don't remember what game it was, but Bouch has got to get in that shooting lane.
You're right. Strudge is right. He's a D-man. He knows exactly where you should and shouldn't be. Strudge is right on that one.
All right. There's a few mentions of this. I kind of know what you guys are going to maybe think of this, but let's bring it up anyway. A couple people mentioned this guy's name. I was wondering if sending down Howard for Clattenburg would be a good idea. I think we know there's already a pretty big logjam of forwards here with the big club as some guys come back from injury, but he showed, people really liked his game, fans especially in the preseason. Is a guy like that get himself on the radar when the team is not being physical enough, Brownie?
Well, they know what he's capable of, but nobody's coming up from the minors. There's going to be players going down to the minors. When the Oilers get healthy, and hopefully they do soon, a Howard, a Tomashik will be sent to the minors to make room for the players coming in. There won't be any players coming up. The Oilers have a roster right now with they got 12 forwards. They had Tomashik sitting out. They're going to have Kapanen back. There's Hyman. There's 15 forwards. Anything else would be way down the depth chart. Nobody from the minors is really knocking on the door to come play up for the Oilers.
He might. He's Brownie's 100% right there. I guess at some point maybe they get him up just to bring a little energy and just to show him so he sees what it's like. Because I'm bullish on what I think he could be and the energy he brings to a lineup. And he's irritating, that's for sure. So the Oilers don't have a lot in their lineup, but I don't know if it's this year. Maybe a game just to get his beak wet.
Okay, one other quick little trip to the minors, and we're going even further down. Someone mentioned this guy's name. I was looking at him earlier in the day. That's a goaltender by the name of Sam Johnson. But we're not in Bakersfield. We're in the Fort Wayne Comets. And Sam Johnson, who had a really good record in Sweden last year, he's 5-0 with the Comets with 3 shutouts in the ECHL. He's got a 1.57 goals against average, .930 save percentage. Is that anything? Is that anything that is making the team go, ooh?
Is that a thing?
Struddy, is
no,
that? Okay,
no.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That is so far from the NHL, it's not even funny. His job is eventually to get to the American Hockey League. But no, right now they're trying to find a game in Connor Ingram. That's what they're trying to find. Maybe next year that kid gets to come up to the American Hockey League, but he is so far down the depth chart right now that it's not something that an Oiler fan is going to see anytime soon.
Yeah, it's nothing for the NHL team, but it's something for the organization because he keeps trending and where he's going, he's winning. So let's look at this in a year and a half, like Brownie's talking about, see if there's something.
Well, the one thing I will add in is that there's a plan for this player. Like before the Connor Ingram was in the picture, there was a plan for this player to be in the American League and to be playing and such. You bring in Ingram and it bumps everybody down. So what I would say is it probably reaffirms to the organization that, tracking towards the American Hockey League and regular starts in the American Hockey League probably would have made sense this year for him, but they did what they felt they had to do.
Okay. Balding Barber, this is a great question. He says, we're almost at 20 games. What do you guys think is at the top of the Oilers shopping list based on what we've seen so far? Struddy, what's the team thinking, that they need to add? They have a lot of bodies, but if they had a shopping list, what do they think they need to add?
Well, the problem is I don't think we've seen the Oilers' best, right? So how do you evaluate the net minding when the team in front isn't really playing well defensively? They've had guys that are out, no Hyman, now no Nuge. I think there's been a lot of reasons to have a hard time to evaluate this group. I know they don't need a D-man. I know that for sure. So either you're looking behind the D-man or you're looking up to a top. Well, I think a top 6 winger. I'm going to keep banging that drum, but yeah. So I just have a hard time. Give me another 20 games when the team's playing well to decide.
Yeah, I think that's the best answer right there, Strud. Let's get Hyman in the lineup. Let's get Nuge in the lineup. Janmark, Kapanen, have everyone playing in the role that they should be playing. Mangiapane will move down to the third line. Someone on the third line will move down to the fourth line, and then take a good evaluation of what your team looks like at that point. But yeah, it won't be on the back end. It won't be defense. The big one is Calvin Pickard. Does he rebound? Because right now he has really struggled this year, and I think that if he'd be a goaltender, a 1A goaltender would probably be at the top of the shopping list. But I don't think you want to evaluate this team until you've seen what this team's capable of doing, and we have yet to see that this year.
Yeah, I would say a bigger top six forward, someone with some stature that can play in the top six, but a little bit of a raised eyebrow and a continued focus on goaltending, I would say, is where they're at right now.
Okay. This Struddy and I chatted about this a little bit on Struddy's World this morning. Neil Garrity, among others, wanting to know, I don't know why Emberson is in instead of Regula, who is, as far as we know, healthy. Brownie, what are your thoughts on that? There are lots of there's chatter out there. People want to say that Emberson's being showcased. What do you think of this situation? What do you think there, Brownie?
When they pulled Regula out of the lineup, I was shocked. I really was. And then after Emberson's first game, I was even more shocked that Regula wasn't put back in. I think Emberson has really struggled all 3 games. I think it's 3 games he's played now, 3 or 4. He struggled in all of them. So I thought what you just said, that they were shopping him or allowing the National Hockey League to see what they've got, which hasn't been good because he has really struggled. Or B, is Regula a little bit sick, a little bit banged up? Because to me, there's no comparison between. Yeah, see, to me, there's no comparison between the two players. I thought Regula played well. I thought he's actually outplayed other defensemen in the top 5 in some of the games that he's played. So I'm utterly shocked. So the only thing that I can think is they're trying to shop Emberson, and the only way to shop him is to let him play and have some teams take a look at him.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I just, I think Regula, I want to see more Regula. That's what I want to see what he can do, and I want to stay healthy though. That's a huge thing, but I want to see him play. He's bigger, he skates well. I'd like to see a little more physicality, but I would not be rotating back to Emberson. And unfortunately for Stetcher, he's probably going to be watching as a caddy quite often. Schauger.
Makes absolutely zero sense that Ty Emberson was back in the lineup tonight. So in the absence of common sense, there needs to be a factor that we don't know. And it is that they're looking to move Emberson and need to get him in the lineup and get him playing in order for them to be able to do that. I think if you're the organization, you're deciding Troy Stetcher is your extra guy between he and Emberson. So you get Emberson playing and try and find a deal.
Okay. Last one here. I think we talked to, I recall this question coming up last year. We'll see how you guys feel about it. Canadians saying, we all know the Oilers haven't started the season how they wanted, but is it extra concerning to have only 4 regulation wins in 18 games? Struddy, does that set off any alarm bells for you?
We've seen this show before. This is the 3rd year in a row we've seen this. So if it was the first time, I'd be a little more nervous. But again, call me in 15 games from now. And if they only have 8 regulation wins, then maybe it's a little different. But I believe they'll find their game. They'll find their way, boys and girls.
I think they'll find their game too, and I have full faith. I stand by everything I predicted with them. I think they'll be second in the division. They'll be a playoff team. They'll get better as the game moves on, or as the year moves on. But yes, they've got 4 regulation wins, and one of those wins was the game where the refs against Montreal gave them 2 power plays late in the game where they were dominated in that game. Like, really, the Oilers have probably had 3 really good games this year. Jack Michaels, before the Columbus game, said that the Oilers have probably only had 7 good periods the entire season. So I do believe there are some concerns, but I do believe you can't really evaluate what you have until you see what you have. And until Hyman and Nuge and Kapanen and Janmark are all playing, I don't know if you can really evaluate what this team is yet.
All right. Great stuff. That was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by BJ Electric Supplies. Brownie, You know, I know we're only staring at a picture of you here, but there's something about your body language in this picture that's just bugging me. So I'm going to let you go, pal. You're done for the night.
Well,
Get out of
are you
here.
going to put me on in the overtime, though? Are you going to bring me back? I'm bored
Nope.
later in the game.
Nope. Your performance has been subpar.
Oh, well, now you sound like every other coach I've ever had. I'm going to just turn my lights off now and just stare at all these northern lights. You guys have a wonderful night.
Right
See you, buddy.
on. Love you, buddy. Great job tonight, pal. All right. Rob Brown. Love it. A feisty Rob Brown tonight. Time to wrap up wrap up the show with our Mainline play of the day, brought to you by Mainline Water and Sewer, your trusted choice for over 40 years, and Struddy's plan B for a career, specializing in sewer line replacement and expert water line repair and replacement. Slow drains are a sign it's time for attention. Aging lines can cause basement backups. Their trenchless method is quick, low impact, and often finished in a day, complete with backflow protection. Visit mainlinewaterandsewer.ca. What do we got for play of the day today, Struds?
Well, it's not so great play of the day. Vinny Trocheck was coming down on Vasilevsky wide, and he's kind of not a breakaway, but it was kind of, he ended up quite open. And Vasilevsky completely loses balance, blows the wheel, and Vinny Trocheck goes 5-hole. I couldn't stop laughing when I was watching this. And Vasilevsky's a really good goalie, but for some reason, I like seeing goalies suffer, Zuby, and nothing personal, buddy.
Whenever I see something like that, I'm always just like, oh, they're just like us. Even the NHL goalies, they're just like me. That has happened to me on a couple of occasions, but
love it.
It's embarrassing.
We'll finish with a little positive energy here from Dave Rollins. We appreciate this, Dave. Got Your Back is the best pod going. Just throwing that out there. Y'all have great chemistry and super entertaining. Thank you for the kind words, David Rollins. And that was after Brownie and I got into that little rabble-rouse in our core adjustment segment. Okay, guys, let's re-rack it and do it all over again tomorrow. Oilers and Columbus Blue Jackets, another early start, so another early pod. And we'll see you guys then. Good job tonight, Struddy. Nice job moderating tonight.
Yeah, I just didn't say anything. Have a good night. Let's do it again tomorrow, boys and girls.
All right. See you, pal. Zuby, good work, my friend. Thanks to all of you for joining us here on the live stream. We really appreciate it. Hey, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review if you don't mind. Tell a friend, throw us the thumbs up, like and subscribe. All those things I'm supposed to say to promote our show. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great one, everybody.